Hey everybody, Nerdy Transform here again, and today I thought I'd hop back into Combiner Wars after all the movie toys we've been reviewing. Or I've been reviewing. And you know what, we've covered the Legends, we've covered the Deluxes, we've even covered a Voyager or two. How about we hop into the other scale, the later class scale? You know, the Legends are all weapons or shields, or they become, parts for armor and stuff. The Deluxes are, of course, the limbs, the legs, the arms, and, of course, the Voyagers become the chest for the robots. What do the leaders do? They're just kind of existing. They're kind of just generation leaders, and they're under the Combiner Wars lines just because that's the newest line. So today we have Ultra Magnus, and you can see he is very accurate to his G1 counterpart. It's almost the exact same trailer, even the exact same transformation for it. It's all the parts from the same place. The arms are up here, the legs are down here. This is the front of the legs and the feet right here. And we even have a little cab. But unlike the G1, the cab does not detach. It is attached right here by a screw. I have removed the screw and you can actually detach it, but there's really no reason unless you just want to have a little truck going around. This little truck does not transform on its own or anything. It's just a little truck, but because of the hinge, it does let it turn. So you could get, say, in the middle of a turning pose. And it's pretty cool. It's a very nice little truck. It's a very mean-looking semi-truck. See, it's like a very bent-down window, so it looks very mean, very angry. Arr, Ultra Magnus, smash. You can see the truck itself is kind of just a modern version of the G1 style. In the original G1, Ultra Magnus was just a repaint of Optimus, and it came with a trailer for armor. This is kind of doing the same thing. You can see silver along the sides. You can see it's a very large truck because there's a door for a human right there. Yeah, that's the door for a human. Same right there in the red plastic, and I think there's another, yep. All the way down here at the back in the blue plastic, there's another door. So you can see if that door is scaled to a human, this would be a humongous truck. And if you want to see just how big it is, here he is next to the Classics Hot Rod, which they're clearly not in scale of each other since this is about normal car size and that's a really tiny little window, completely different sizes. Here he is next to the Combiner Wars Streetwise. How about the Generations Warpath? We're going to do it for all different kind of variations here. Combiner Wars Power Glide, who could actually just, sit on top. And last but not least, Combiner Wars Hot Rod, or Rodimus. And yeah, we'll get to these two eventually. The one cool thing is that he does keep some of his playability from G1, because of course with G1 you can play with these little cars as well, because you can undo the flaps in the back, and you could have a car go in. Yeah, Classic Hot Rod goes in pretty well. His spoiler doesn't quite fit. You can see it's a little too wide to fit through there, but you could have him sitting in there. Or, you could have him sitting on top. Let's see, how about, here's Age of Extinction Crosshair / Hotshot. And yeah, he sits in there just fine. You can close it up, and you can have him carrying around Hotshot. Let's go with the Combiner Wars. Here, let's remove his weapons. Yeah, he fits in there. He just kind of barely fits in. I'm not sure if, say, some of the trucks, like say Ironhide would fit in here, but the cars would certainly fit in here. The Dead End Streetwises, that mold. And yeah, you can see he got a pretty good look going with him carrying those two cars around. Anything that don't fit down here can just kind of sit on top, so. And if you're wondering how they would get on top, he does still kind of carry the G1 gimmick of, if you unpeg these parts, you can actually use the robot elbows to kind of make a secondary ramp. It doesn't lay flat, but near does the ones on the ground. But you could kind of, get it pretending going and, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's some playability for kids, just a little bit of fun. And let me just get all these little figures I have scattered around now. Let me just start grabbing everybody up. These two as well. And let's get Ultra Magnus back together. And yeah, these are just kind of held in by these little tabs up here. So yeah, it's pretty cool to actually keep some of his G1 gimmicks. Oh yeah, one thing about this, when you're putting these shin doors back in, you gotta fit them under the arm, but also in between here. It can be kind of tricky, but you will get it in there. So yeah, he does keep the G1 transformation as well, but with the original one, the chest piece and the helmet were separate pieces you had to attach, as well as his hands. Now that they're all worked into here. But before we get to all that, we do have something else. His accessories. We have, of course, the classic Magnus rocket packs, which can be pegged right here. There are, let's see, there's 3 peg holes, I believe. There's one here, there's one here, and there's one here on both sides. So he has 6 peg holes to work with. And of course, if we're going for the original G1 look, we're going to peg them into the front part, just so he can protect those cars that he's carrying. But wait, what if he needs more firepower? Well, we have his 2 guns. One of them's kind of just a weird looking little blaster. This one's kind of like his G1 gun, but it's in black instead. But it's similar enough that I can let it go. And we're going to peg these into the back. And now we have one really heavily armed. Oh, and the gun popped off. Of course I'm having all these problems today. And now we have one heavily armed car carrier. So he can really protect those cars he's carrying. And he rolls pretty well. And I love seeing the smokestacks on there. It just kind of gives this image of a big, powerful machine really hauling it. And of course there's all these little ladders, there's all these little details, all these little things that everybody likes. My only real problem with him is the plastic can be kind of thin in some places. Like you can see right here, there's just a thin piece of plastic right here, nothing even covering it. It's not even filled. And you can kind of see all around, yeah, it's all very thin plastic. It kind of makes me wish this was back in 2006 when they actually had a budget, but you know what, I'll take it, but it's better late than never. However, there is one last thing. This whole guy right here is not the figure. He himself is actually an accessory to this little guy. This is Minimus Ambus. If you don't know, in the IDW comics, rather than Ultra Magnus being like a white Optimus that gets armored up, he's actually a giant mech suit for a much smaller robot, Minimus Ambus here. And Minimus Ambus is a pretty nice little vehicle. You know, he's got a good amount. It's a little white vehicle. He's got a good amount of paint. The black windows are painted. He's got the Oddbot sticker lamp, or this Oddbot symbol tampered on there. He's got some green on the front, covers vents to kind of give it the detail to make it stick out more. He's a pretty nice little figure. Let's see. He's actually smaller than one of the little Legends mini figurines. You can see he's actually quite smaller than Groundbuster here. But he has a much better transformation. We'll go ahead and transform Minimus first. What you're going to do is flip out the front of the car, and now become his legs. And you actually do have to transform the back a bit, because it folds down this double hinge to get the arms in the right place. There we go. And it makes his head stick out a bit more, because now he doesn't have a big block stuck behind his head. Unlike Groundbuster here, who's just kind of got his head buried in there. So yeah, it kind of helps a bit to make his head stick out more. You can see in his robot mode, he actually has a lot of detail. Because of how the feet were done, his windshield doesn't just look like windshields for feet. He actually looks like he has nice black little boots, you know? And on his chest, he actually has multiple colors. He has green on the center part, and he has dark green around the collar. And look at that! His face is painted, his eyes are painted, and his goatee and mustache is even painted. His goatee and mustache on a tiny little figure like this. Like, if you want to see how tiny his figure is, here's the Legends tailgate. You can see he's quite small. So it's amazing they got all these little details on him. And I really appreciate that. It helps it stick out, and yeah, he's got just enough paint on him for me to be happy. Plus, they even utilize it by having the most painted part of him be part of his feet as well. So you always see all of his paint. So yeah, let's put him out of the way. Let's go ahead and get transforming Ultra Magnus. What you're going to do is remove all the weapons. Now, if you have any weapons attached back here, you can leave them attached because these are the legs right here. But here, this part's going to actually fold up inside, so you do have to remove that. First thing you're going to do is actually slide the truck in, and when you do, it actually locks this in place. If you want to get back out, you have to pull the truck down, and then it'll let you slide. But when it goes in, it actually locks in upward, so it doesn't wiggle back out. It's going to be kind of hard to get this all on camera, so I'm going to see if I can do my best. Just get all the accessories out of the way. Unclip the back of the arms here. Unclip them from each other. And you go ahead and just start folding those out. What you're going to want to do next is grab the white part. And you'll actually extend it through the blue part. You can see the rest of it's coming out the front. like that, and that gives Ultra Magnus his classic shoulder pylon things, his little shoulder towers. Again, extend all the way through. Now what you're going to do is grab the blue part, it'll come back on this double hinge, revealing the hand. The hand was right inside there. And it'll come back and fold in, again, back on the double hinge, collapse in. And that gives him his arms, and his arms are done. Now the next thing you want to do, let's go and get the arms out of the way. Pop these red parts off on the inside from the white parts, they're just tabbed in. And then what you're going to do is you have to pull the chest plate out. This piece right here, this little hollow piece right here is the chest plate. You're going to actually have to pull the legs. It might be easier to go ahead and pull the legs apart. And the chest plate's just kind of wedged in there. And it's kind of hard to show it, but it's just, it has these little tab parts on the sides, and they're wedged into these little parts in here. But once you get that going, it's free. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and bring the legs down on their hip joints. You can see the legs were just kind of hidden under the vehicle the whole time. This is the interesting part. You're going to move this, it kind of looks like the whole foot would just fold upward like this, but you're actually going to move all the parts around. You want to see how that's going to be done. You're going to untab it from the side of like there, and you're going to keep turning it until it comes to this tab hole right here. You're going to tab it back into place and fold this white part up. It'll tab back into the same tab it was originally attached to in vehicle mode. These red parts, they're on a hinge. You fold them up like this, and it has a tab hole here on the very edge and a tab there. You actually peg it in. Oh, come on. Oh, you got to get the feet out first. The feet come out on these double hinges. I'll show that better in a moment from the front. But yeah, afterward you can tab the red part in, and that makes the back of the leg. Once again, untab it from there, use the same tab into here, fold the white piece up, take the foot, and you can see from below it comes out on this double hinge and just folds out. Once again, swivels up like this, tabs right there to make the back of the leg, and there's the legs done. All we really have, the legs and arms are now done, all we have left is the chest. So what you're going to do is this, it has a hinge right here in the middle. Just going to hinge that up. You can kind of see the robot start being created. Go ahead and get the arms down like this to get them out of the way of the vehicle, because what you do is you actually unpeg the front of the vehicle and swivel it around. You can see there's a little bit of the piece left. And it comes down on this hinge and fits right there. And the arms can sometimes bump in the way of it, so I just fold them down. Next, you're going to take the chest, or the front of the vehicle, and open it up, and that's where his head was put. Flip this panel up, and bring it out with this heavy ratchet. And you can actually see inside where his head was, where the front of the vehicle is, this little chair and I guess throne sort of. It has all these little levers and gadgets. You can see these little screens all in here. You can see some levers right there, some buttons. And there's a chair shape right here. It looks like a robot could sit in with two little levers. Because what you do is, like I mentioned, in IDW, Ultra Magnus is a mech suit. Piloted by Minimus Ambus here. So what you're going to do is just kind of give him in a sitting position. And kind of just fit him in there. Just put his hands wherever you can fit them. Close this back up over him. You can close the chest plate over the front of the vehicle. They'll tab into these little tabs right here, as you can see. And then flip the head down over Animus. And one cool thing is that Animus's head, his own little head there, actually fits into Ultra Magnus's head, so he's actually viewing everything through Ultra Magnus's face. And there's Ultra Magnus in his mighty robot mode. Alright, and the mech and camera's element. Gotta fix it. There we go. Let's go and get comparisons out of the way. Here he is next to the classics Rodimus, and that's not a bad scale. That's not bad. Ultra Magnus was a big guy. He was humongous. Here he is next to the Combiner Wars Rodimus, who's not in very good scale. Which, not good figure, not good scale, whatever. Combiner Wars Streetwise. Generations Warpath. And let's just throw in Power Glide. Combiner Wars Power Glide. And you see, among the deluxe, he's just humongous next to the deluxes and the legends. Even next to the deluxes, he's just gigantic next to him. He looks like huge. So let's get all of them out of there. Get these two. And these two little guys. And let's look at the big man himself, Magnus. Magnus. Just big, strong, powerful. He just looks bulky. It's been a while since we've had such a big, bulky figure. I mean, we had Jetfire, but he was just kind of lanky looking. But Magnus here, oh no, he's big, bulky, he's got big boots. He'll stomp you, he'll punch you, he'll body slam you. You won't get up again. And he doesn't have much back kibble. All he has for back kibble is just the wheels from the little truck mode. And they're kind of attached there because of where the truck transforms. I just noticed also like the truck ladder matches up with this ladder right here, so it's almost like a full ladder going all the way up right there. That's kind of cool. As far as new details go, you can see there's on the shoulders, you can see some details there. You can see the head, which is a very Ultra Magnus head. The chest, I kind of like it. This is where the IDW part starts coming out more. And it actually uses the front headlights of the truck, so these are not fake, these are the actual headlights integrated into the chest. Got some red here, got the blue chest, the classic blue chest plate, got a nice little Autobot logo right there. No paint on the legs, but there is a lot of detail. He's even got this little piece on the crotch, which is a thing from the G1, the little circled thing. Same for the legs, very G1-esque, very more like, very classic style of like an advanced G1. And you got the feet. And it's all really nice looking, it's all very good, it's all very Magnus. Very, very Magnus. And of course, we can attach his shoulder cannons. What you'll see is there's actually those panels here. And the reason they move is so that way they can get out of the way of the shoulders when you need to move the shoulders. But there's always been a problem with Magnus, with these big shoulder pieces he has. It's always been kind of tricky to get his arms to work perfectly. But they kind of solved this by adding this panel, and then you can just have the shoulder joint work as it's supposed to. Which is pretty nice. And of course, he also has his guns. Which, this is the tricky part. His hands are actually articulated because the fingers open up. They don't separate, the fingers are stuck all together like this, but you do have hands that can open. But there's nothing actually holding the gun in his hand. What you gotta do is you gotta put the gun in and close the hand, and you basically just gotta pray that your joints are strong enough to hold the gun. And mine will hold the gun, but this is where the problem starts coming in, is because, okay, look, he got the guns in his hand, he looks fine, he looks like he's ready to shoot. The moment we start moving him, the guns fall out. This hand seems to be a bit tighter, but this hand, it will hold the gun, but the moment I move the figure, like if I'm just moving around on my shelf, just trying to give him a bare spot, he'll often drop his gun. Like, see, watch. You can already see it start getting wiggle. I'm just moving the arm and it's already wiggling out of his hand. It's just, if there was just a tab there, all it needed was a tab to hold the gun in place, and it'd be great. It's still a really good look, it's just, it is an issue when you're just trying to move the toy around. And of course, since you do have the pegs on them, you can, say, like, holster them to his legs right here, using the peg holes. You can kind of just get him holstered down when he's not using his weapons, which looks pretty good as well. And of course, you can kind of get the Matrix thing going, but if you do, it's going to be like, you're just going to see Minimus Ambus in there. Unless you don't have him in there, but even if you don't have him in there, you're still going to have like the legs, or like the details of the chair and all that, so unfortunately you can't really do the Matrix scene, especially since this opens up the wrong way. Because on the original G1 movie, this blue part opened up upward and these two red parts opened outward. So can't quite replicate it, but you don't have really a Matrix to put in there anyway, so I'm sorry Magnus, you'll never be a leader. But you're not a leader, you are Magnus. You are the second in command. You kick butt. So much butt. And there is one cool thing he can do with his weapons. Because if you remember, Transformers Animated Ultra Magnus had a giant hammer. A giant war hammer that was his main weapon. And Combiner Wars Magnus here can kind of emulate that by combining his weapons. Maybe that's where the Combiner Wars perks comes with. Maybe it's Magnus Ambus. I'm not sure. What you do is you take the guns, and they have to go this way. This one's the only one that has a peg on the back, and this one's the only one with a barrel big enough to fit a peg. You connect them like this, And then this one has 2 pegs on it, where you can attach the rocket packs. And officially, this is the Magnus hammer. And this one fits in his hand a lot better, because if you notice in the bottom of his arm, there's this little groove. And there's a groove here. So what you do is you actually slide it in there, and that gives it the extra support it needs for him to hold up the hammer right. And officially you're supposed to hold it like this, with the rocket packs forward, you know, and you smash with the rocket packs. Which looks alright, but if you're going to use it for the hammer, I would actually recommend turning it this way, and then having the rockets pointing forward, and now you have a spiked war hammer. And that just looks cool as crap. It just looks awesome like that. Granted, yeah, his staff itself was just like a gun, but it needs extra length in order to look like a proper warhammer, and it just looks really good. Granted, there's not too many poses you can do, because really the only spot you can hold it is in this little groove spot. I mean, you could technically get his arms situated where you could have him holding the bottom, like this. But even then, he really can't do like a... Oh, I mean, get the legs going on it. Let's see. Can we get... Yeah, there we go. You can get a fairly decent... There we go. You can get a fairly decent kind of swinging pose going. You kind of go like this. There we go. Yeah. Granted, that's really the only pose you could do where it looks like he's actually swinging the hammer, but you could get a swinging pose going with him. And it's not actually a bad look. It actually looks quite menacing, especially if someone of his size. And that's the hammer. It is really cool. I'm really glad that like something like Transformers Animated is still around in little touches like this. And now we're going to talk about his articulation, since I'm already showing it off. His head is on a swivel. If we actually try and get the head up. If we actually look at the back of the head, you can actually see it's on a little stem. It is not ball jointed. It only does a swivel. But it's good enough. He does have a lot of little like ratchets and fake ratchet joints. And the shoulder, it's a faux ratchet. Just a little soft one, but it works. It holds it up. Flip up this panel and you can see his arm goes all the way out. On a really good heavy ratchet. You do get a swivel. Good little... A faux ratchet here as well, but it's a lot better than this one. It's a lot louder and stronger. So the elbow one's a bit stronger, and you do get the hinge at the hand, so you can have him kind of go in to grab something. So there is that. You can give him some different poses besides just a closed fist. You can have his hands kind of down and look a bit more relaxed. Nothing at the waist, unfortunately. They probably could have put a swivel right here, but oh well. Really good ratchets in the legs. Which is good. I mean, if you're going to put good ratchets anywhere, put them in the legs so at least he can stand. Because arms can still be posed even if the ratchets are bad. If the ratchets are bad in the legs, he's falling over. As you've seen from my Generations Rhinox review. But yeah, going outward and forward and back. Really good ratchets. Going forward and back and outward. Swivel. Good ratchet in the knee. Not quite as strong as these ratchets, but still better than the ratchets up here. And the ankles are on tight hinges. And you can technically make them a bit taller by extending the hinge out like this. But also puts his balance, where his feet balance, a lot more forward. So a lot of his back can kind of outweigh that. So I prefer just to kind of keep them there. And it is kind of weird because it still leaves a gap in his feet, but you can use it to kind of like lean him forward. Or kind of give him like a falling pose, like he just fell over or he's trying to grab something. You could get something like that going using the feet hinges. It is doable. And yeah, like I said, he's just a really good looking figure. Just he does a lot. I was worried about him after how Jetfire turned out. And Jetfire's still a good figure, don't get me wrong, but this is a much better leader class. The thin plastic, how everything's hollowed out, you know. If you look at him from the back, his arms are hollowed out. The inside of the arms aren't super hollow, but they are still hollow. The back of the legs, you can practically see through the plastic with the light. So yeah, he is hollow, but they did try to fold in the plastic to give him a lot more bulk, which is kind of what's happening with the legs, is it's all thin plastic, but it's all folded together. And you can see the feet are hollow, which does bug me. But they tried. You know, with their with their much lower budgeting they have lately, they did try and they did make a really good figure. I think this is the perfect Classics Ultra Magnus. I was originally planning on getting like the third-party City Commander and some other figures, maybe the Titanium, but I have no need for them anymore. I have the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus, and he's perfect for my Classics collection, I think. He's going to go with my Classics and my Generations figures, and I think he fits in quite well. Here's one last good look at the figure. And yeah, I think he's a fantastic figure. For anybody who's a fan of the third season or the movie, the Transformers movie from back in 1986, I think he's perfect for you. He's a really good little Ultra Magnus, and I like his new stuff. Oh yeah, Minimus Ambus does have articulation as well. He has ball joints at the shoulders, he has hinges at the hips, and hinges at the knee, but I'm not going to dig him out right now just to show that. But yeah, that's everything he can do, that's everything he does, and he's perfect. I honestly think, maybe not perfect, but I think he's a really, really good Ultra Magnus, and honestly, he's my favorite Combiner Wars figure right now. He just does everything so well, and does as much as he can. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review, I hope you go out and get this figure, and I hope you have a nice day. This is Nerdy Transformed, and I am out.